Welcome back to Andertons TV, everybody. And can I just say, collectively, on behalf of myself, Peter Honore, and everybody watching, thank God we've got Ben Elmer here today to do this video. Gentlemen, Ben. Because this is so far out of anything I understand ever. Welcome back, Mr. Ben.
Hello.
So today's video is all about a new pedal from Universal Audio called the Anti or the Anti, depending on which side of the Atlantic you live on, and it's the
5150.
But is it the fifth pedal now? That they say you've got Rubies and Woodrows and Dreams and Lions, so it's the fifth pedal in that series. And yep, go on, you tell them what it is.
So it's obviously it's something very different to what the guys at Universal Audio have done before. So this is their real first venture into what I play, the heavy side of things. So yeah, it's based off an old sort of block letter 5150, so that real iconic amp that you would hear in all kinds of different genres, to be honest with you, whether it's sort of tech metal, death metal, prog, geezercore. So, geezercore.
Yeah,
absolutely.
you know, like this is another video of how many different subgenres of metal are there. There's like thousands, aren't there? So yeah, look, let's go through this. This is an interesting one for people like myself that are perhaps less familiar with that. I think it's important to probably distinguish this is going after a different vibe to maybe the new metal thing.
Yeah.
Although I guess some of those bands probably would have used 5150s, but I think that's a different ballpark to this, isn't it? I tell you what is amazing about this. And I only know this through some of the feedback that came from the early Victory Krakens that got done.
Yeah. Was
how much that element of the metal community loves the harsh, fizzy presence that this amplifier had, that Rabir and Martin worked to try and sort of dial out.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, there was a sense that everybody dials it out anyway, so why have it in the first place? But yeah, the whole community was just like, no, you've got to have
it's come back
that
a little
aggressiveness
bit. That real
there.
nasty sound. Like if you listen to bands like Knock Loose and that now, it's all about noise, to be honest with you, rather than tones. But
so look, I'm not at the moment I'm not screen recording here, but all we're basically that first bit we just took you through some presets. Some of them were factory presets, some of them are artist presets. As with all these Universal Audio pedals, over time these preset lists will just update on your phone. You'll just see more and more and more coming, and you just basically dial them in as we've been doing. So ignore kind of where the knobs are set on this at the moment, because we haven't been dialing any tones in. We've just been using presets. So I guess let's now get out of preset mode and just into on mode, and let's dial in or give people an idea of what you can do. So the pedal works very similarly to the rest of the Universal Audio pedals. Most of these, there was quite a bit of questioning around Universal Audio when this first came out, which was like, why are you making me buy a new pedal every time I want another amplifier? You know, why can't, it's all digital anyway, so why can't we just have a switch that, you know, does that? And, you know, Universal Audio's response for that was they really wanted to tailor the knobs and the functionality of each pedal so specifically to that amp, so that you didn't have knobs trying to be in 53 different modes depending on what amp you were trying to do. So we've got across the top pre-gain, presence, output, and then low, middle, and high EQs. Across the middle here, you're choosing the cabinet that you want to use with this, and the channel that you want to use on the amplifier. And then if you switch this button, this middle selection here, into its alt mode, you get some different functions. So you've got resonance up here, a noise gate here, overdrive tone, and overdrive level 1, because there is a Tube Screamer style boost pedal also built into this circuit, as well as the gate and the amplifier. Again, just going over some slightly old ground here on all these Universal Audio pedals. This is all completely Universal Audio's own proprietary digital modeling. They don't use IRs in the conventional sense. They're using all of the cabinet emulation technology that you would get in Oxbox or Oxstomp. But it's all their own thing, and they're kind of super proud of that. And then there are some users that are like, oh, well, I want to use my own IRs and stuff. But the Universal Audio world is its own kind of ecosphere, isn't it? It's super, super good, but it is their own thing. So I guess I've got a list of what the cabinets are. So obviously we can't change the amplifier that it is. It's always going to be the 5150. We can start with perhaps its rhythm channel. I've got the red cabinets are a vintage 30 loaded 4x12, a oversized 4x12 with vintage 30s, a 4x12 with C75s, Celestion C75s, and then the green, if I switch to this, you'll see it goes green. The green cabs are a 212 with, says a 212 D65. I think that's almost like a cleaner, more sort of like Dumbly kind of vibe, sorry. And then you've got 412 with C80s and a 412 with JBLs, I believe. It's sort of going sort of Van Halen-y, I suppose, there. So we'll start with the rhythm channel. Let's just stay with cabinet number 1 for the time being. Oh, look, okay, so you can switch the cabinet emulation off if you do want to use a third-party IR.
Okay, that's cool.
We're in the normal mode for its switching, so this will just do what it says in the big capital letters. We're coming out, by the way, stereo into our DI. There's obviously no reverb or anything built into this, but reverb's not even a thing in this genre, is it? Well, look, dial me in a sound. And we've got a couple of guitars here. One's a 7-string Kaizen, the other is a baritone Chapman. They're both pretty heavy, right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Cool. So let's start on the rhythm then. So a little bit cleaner. Pete, can you add a bit of reverb in?
Of course I can.
Lovely.
I said you didn't have reverb in this genre.
So that's probably going to come from Universal plugins there. So. That's all set
Kind
flat
of bright,
as well.
but with a bit of headroom.
Yeah,
isn't
a little
it?
bit. Try it in again. You could probably bring the pre-gain back a little bit. It's all right. It just brings it back a touch. So again, maybe a little bit more presence in there. I tend to like scooped mids on cleans, but you know, I'm sure I'll get corrected on that. It feels like quite a nice, clean sound to play, to be honest. I mean, again, in this, what this is designed for, again, it's not going to be like an over-the-top clean sound. If you wanted something more expansive than that, you'd probably dive into one of the other universal pedals, to be honest. But I think, particularly if you're using high output pickups, one thing that people always will struggle with in heavy music is actually not getting it to break up so much and sounding like it's over the top compressed.
I'm going to switch I'm just going to actually start screen recording here, and we want the microphone on, because I'm just looking in the... So I've come out of those preset modes now into the edit mode, and it obviously I can elect from here to do a little bit more voicing to the tone than just the 6 knobs and switches that you've got on here. So including switching in and out whether or not the drive pedal is working or the boost pedal is. So again, we've got a bright switch on at the moment. I can switch that off from here. And I've got some input routing here as well. So again, if we're worried that the guitar is super, super hot and it's maybe overloading it, we can change that around. We've got 3 different modes for rhythm: clean, punch, punch plus. We can bias the amp differently. So we've got quite a lot to play with here. And then we've even got some room sounds and some post gain, like almost like, I guess, what's that, like a power amp gain kind of vibe going on. So, and the noise gate, which actually on the clean channel we probably don't need to use. So, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but I thought actually as we go here, you've got quite a bit more that you can mess around with if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just, I want to hear, if can you tweak the bright switch for me? Just...
Way more definition with the bright switch on.
It's lovely with that bright switch on.
I wonder if we can sort of audibly hear the input routing. So if I go high. Okay, so again, for maximum headroom, we want to use that low input routing. Let's see what these different rhythm modes are here. So that was clean, then we got punch. Very much by the sounds of things, just again emulating how hard you're hitting the front of the amplifier. Bias mode, I'm going to probably leave, we'll wait till we go in some of the heavier modes to see what we do here. Let's see what this room thing adds in. Is it really adding much reverb or just a stereo spread? So you can hear the room reflection, can't you?
Yeah.
It's definitely not a reverb as such, is it? It's just...
I think it's probably more designed, like if you're playing maybe through like a set of headphones or anything like that, it's just going to make it feel a little less stale.
Yeah.
Which is a cool feature again.
The other thing that you might have seen on this app here at the overdrive at the top are these 2 different modes of overdrive, which again, we can show you what they do, I suppose, over a clean channel, but it's not, for this thing, it's not really traditionally where you'd use it, so we might wait for this. But yeah, TS-TC, I think there's nothing official from UAD as to what they're supposed to do, but you know, little birdie might have said to me, TS is the obvious one, Tube Screamer, TC slightly less obvious, but maybe there was a popular TC product back in the day that was like more of a boost circuit for these kinds of amps rather than a drive circuit. But as you can see, you switch those up like that. You can't switch these off, but I'm told that again, if you just have the overdrive setting on its 0 mode, it effectively has no tonal or drive bearing on the sound. I guess we'll find that out, won't we, as we go through it. So, I mean, that's a clean sound, right? Nobody's buying this pedal for that, are they? So should we go into crunch and you start setting up? So that this, if I remember right, I can't remember on the original 5150, but on modern ones it's a blue and a red mode on the gain channel. So I'm guessing that's what we're going here between the blue and the red modes, aren't we? So
yeah, we are.
Let's have a little listen.
again, like a bit of breakup there, but I think, let's see maybe if we can tweak the cab a little bit here as well. As such, the oversized 412
well
now.
remembered. I was just going to look that up, but you're absolutely right. Oversized 412.
It's going to be almost more reminiscent of that old Messer cab, to be honest with you. So, again, it's... Again, like, I'd still probably push it a little bit more on the pre-gain, but...
Yeah, look, you dial it in, or we could use the boost pedal.
I was going to say, this is where, to be honest with you, a lot of the time, a lot of old recording engineers, if they're dialing in these kinds of sounds, the tones are a lot less heavy than you would hear on the record. So that's where you take a bass tone like this, so... And then probably bring in an overdrive around it.
Tons of bass end, isn't there? So well, look, so that, as we said before, you move this middle switch into its alt position, and now we're doing the controls in the brackets.
Again, we can take some of the resonance out there as well. That positive. So again, we don't know if you'll be able to hear that at home, but in the room, actually tweaking the resonance knob, even just going from like 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock makes a hell of a difference. And definitely gives it that 5150 feel.
I always think this vibe, there's so many, and again, not my genre at all, but like there's so many counterintuitive things that players would do. Like they'll dial in the resonance, then use the tube screamer to take the bass end away. They'll dial in the fizz, but then post use the EQ to dial it away. But I guess it's just it's a thing, isn't it? You just got to get it. It's how these sounds are created, and there's some amazing, there's some amazing music produced, using this kind of amplifier. Let's try putting some different settings then on the Can I just toggle between the boost and the TS?
Yeah, go for it.
Like,
I'll keep playing you.
You can kind of hear there's a little bit of background hiss as well now, so I guess switch the noise gate on. I've already sort of set this up just before we came back to recording again. But yeah, so you can hear obviously that works, and it certainly helps give that more staccato kind of percussive vibe to the sound.
Yeah.
I quite liked as well. We were just mucking around some of those bias modes. There's one of the things that I have always enjoyed about Universal Audio stuff is they do simplify the apps and the sort of user interface. Yeah. Some people, I guess, might go almost too simplistically. I suppose if you're a very experienced engineer, you really know what you're doing. But for someone I personally think UAD do a brilliant job of kind of giving you like 99% of the things you're ever going to want to do, but in a crazy simplistic, like no manual, no nothing, just, But anyway, so I like that. Let's keep playing. I'm going to introduce a bit of post gain, see if you can kind of hear that. Okay, so that's not power amp gain. That is just purely turning the volume up
Yeah.
after everything else. Okay, so that's just louder, basically. I didn't think we got a sound out of this TC side that sounded as good as the TS side, so do you want to...
Yeah, the TC obviously is a little hotter, so... It's a lot more scooped in its nature. Obviously, like the TS style, you're going to get mid kick anyway from it, but it really...
I think that's like there's a everybody knows to achieve the sort of the TS style genty thing, it's like very low overdrive, loads of level, and then tone to taste. The TC thing feels like that's not the setting that really works best with that. I've never even heard of the units. I can't. I've got no experience that, but setting everything round about 12 o'clock sounds to me better than where it was before. You know, while we're on this mode and we've got a pretty fat kind of sound, do you like the TS or the TC?
I prefer the TS, but whether it's because I've used it for ages. Let's go back to
where we were with that. Anyway, let's just flick through the rest of the 5 cabs and then we'll go on to the lead mode, and you know, it is what it is. It's like it is the sound, right?
Yeah.
I guess. Okay, let's try the next cab. That last one sounded good. That's the JBL loaded one. I quite like that oversized one as well. Just remind me what the first one was like again?
The first one's like your standard UK, almost like Marshall.
Just a normal 412.
British 412, and then that gives you then your Messer oversize.
And do that JBL one again. Whatever. There's the only one that, again, I wonder if that 2x12 in there it was so dark and so bassy. I wonder if that's more of a clean channel type of thing.
I think so, yeah.
Anyway.
Which probably makes sense, them lending actually something that's going to be a bit more palatable to that cleaner sound anyway. But that oversized one is definitely my favourite.
So here we go. We've got one more channel to go. Here we are.
Very top end. Again, I think it's the sort of thing you really need to dial in again, like in the room here, quite top endy.
So do it. So can we, if we just go from that crunch back to and you'll see what. It's just got a bit more mid-range maybe, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And just not loads more gain, a little bit maybe. But so dial a sound in that you like. I have to say, I wouldn't say it's not confusing, but the fact that these 3 knobs at the bottom you've got to remember to switch when you want one to be the sort of, the boost pedal settings and switch it back when you want to go back to the EQ. I can see a lot of people thinking that they're about to adjust the bass end, not realising that they're still in the overdrive mode. So I guess you've got to get a little bit used to that.
Bit of a learning curve,
yeah.
definitely.
But all the UAD pedals have that kind of potential pitfall, I suppose.
Pete, have you still got the reverb on?
Oh, would you like some?
No.
It might well be. Have I got?
There's
no,
none.
I've got no room.
No.
All right, I can take the brightness switch. Well, whatever you.
Let's just go for it. I mean, start everything off at 12 really, and just. Already that's like
better,
a million times better.
Yeah. And again, we're still on the cool biased mode, so we can really heat the power amp valves up a bit if we want to.
And I think again, like it's super fun to play with loads and loads and loads of gain, but really, like, I remember Josh Middleton saying when we had him in for the last masterclass, like when he dials in his sounds, because he's big into his like black metal as well. It's actually started off with a much lower gain sound, and traditionally, a lot of amps like the block letter 5150, if you get a good old school one, they've actually got quite a lot of mid-range in them when you're pairing them with an oversized 412 anyway. So although it looks like you're scooping the mids, it actually sits a lot better, like particularly if you're recording. So again, I could probably still bring that back a little bit because we're not even tweaking on the overdrive pedal itself yet. So I'd go as a bass tone. I'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah. I'm guessing, though, that the overdrive setting will be what we last had it. So we haven't switched it off as such. So that's probably
in theory,
still...
it should be. So, I mean...
It's very, very amp-like.
Yeah, do you know, that's the one thing.
Whether you like the sound or not, is, you have to credit UA with all of these pedals. They get that unforgiving realness that sometimes I think when you're using like multi-effects pedals and you dial in a 51, it's the sound that you kind of want it to be after the producer's done everything to it.
Definitely.
Whereas this feels like, no, it is the sound of the amp, and then it's up to you to do the post-production.
I've used all the big multi-effects and all the big plugins out there, and again, this feels more like an amp, almost like we're sat with the studio monitors now, like in a control room. Like if you were sat there in a studio playing through it, it's definitely got the unforgiving feel. But let's dial in the overdrive.
I got to say, of all the UAFX products that have come out, so from the pedals through to the amp stuff, the amp stuff is the stuff that's really like game changer. I think the pedals are good, but there's like there's lots of other good pedals as well. I do think those 5, and I know there's more in the pipeline as well, so I don't know exactly what models are going to be next, but they do a really impressive job of capturing real amp tone.
Let's see how that overdrive. Feels great, like to me that, and even so, I could probably still bring that overdrive just down a touch, even off. To be fair, at that point, you're just really going to be. That's the sweet spot for me.
That's a good little pedal, man. So there we are. The anti pedal from Universal Audio Effects. Same kind of dough as the rest of the pedals, so, you know, 350, 400 pounds, something like that. But check the Andertons links below. I think these will be in stock the day that this video goes live. I hope so. And if this is your thing, maybe you want to add one of these to your collection. I can see lots of guitar players, I think, they'll probably already got one or two of these already and just sort of building this collection up, and then,
I think, even so, I know a lot of guys sort of in the local, even like sort of bands that are coming up doing tours and that, they're looking to do it on the smallest rig possible, because there's 8 of them in a van, including the videographer who's, you know, got a hangover and stuff. So getting this on a board with like even like a HX Stomp or some sort of small multi-effects unit, that's your entire rig. Yeah,
remind me again, are we, because obviously we can save this setting now, give it a preset name, and if I go back to the presets here, you'll see you've got a bank for user settings. However, of course, you know, much to the chagrin of many previous owners of these pedals, not MIDI, so the only way obviously you can change presets is to use the preset button here or use the app.
Lazy guitarist, you've got to do your own switching on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's probably the one, you know, missing feature, I suppose, that to incorporate it into like a Helix, you know, style stomp box, you'd want that. But, you know, apart from that one minor thing, the pure tone, and again, they just kill it, don't they?
You've got to look at the price point it's at as well. They've definitely gone for more quality over quantity, which I think a lot of people would appreciate more.
I think I know the Edge went over to for their shows at the Sphere. He started using the Ruby version of this, and I would guess if you're on the Edge's kind of budget, if you just need, you know, 4 channels or whatever like that, and you've got no MIDI, you just have 4 of these and a router, don't you?
I think he did have like quite a few on the board as well. So.
Well, I guess there's one solution, albeit a more expensive one. Oh, well, look, Ben, as always, pleasure. If you've not seen Ben on the channel before, you'll often see Ben doing some of the more contemporary stuff, often with John as well, John Connors. So, but yes, phew, so glad that you did all the playing. All right, thank you very much for joining us. See you in another video soon.
Like and subscribe.